All right, so we're joined by my friend for the Madison Police Department, Cole McGinnis. We thank you so much for taking some time for us today. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools: Rosa Scott, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. We're in the college career readiness class. This is the public safety career cluster, which I know you've going to have a great career in. And we thank you just so much for fitting us in your busy schedule today.
Yes, I thank you for having me.
All right. So obviously, we want to talk about all you do as a police officer, kind of some of the things that are misunderstood, some of the skills needed. But give us a little background because you're from Yazoo City, cousin of our great friend Tamika Brown, who spent so many years here at Velma Jackson and at Madison Central. And you kind of got into law enforcement a little bit later. So tell us how you got into it and what made you interested in it.
I got into law enforcement because one, my mom was first responder. Two, all the deputies and everything she hung around. I just took a liking to those guys, and they took a liking to me. And eventually, I just want to pursue a career in it.
Yeah, and I know you were originally at Nissan
Correct.
before you joined the police department. So how does that kind of translate into becoming a certified law enforcement officer?
I started out as a reserve. One of my goals was to become a state trooper. However, when I started at Nissan, I just didn't look back on it, and I always had that what if in the back of my mind. So I decided to go for it.
Oh yeah, and it's like we were talking before. For any of our kids that are athletes, for any of our kids that like being on a team and getting that feeling of always being a part of something, law enforcement is a great way to go. And there's multiple ways to get into it. Law enforcement agencies love hiring people that have been in the military. They love hiring people with the criminal justice degrees. They love hiring former athletes. And it's just so important that our kids understand that law enforcement agencies need to represent the demographics of the area they serve. So we need every type of person to consider it. We need more bilingual officers. We need more female officers. We need officers of every color and every gender. So talk about how kids can get into it if they're interested in this.
Yes, one way you can get into it, one is to have a clean record, stay out of trouble. Two, if you want to get into it, all you have to do is just come meet one of us. You see an officer on the street, ask how you can go by getting into it. You're more than welcome to come to the station, meet a recruiter, um, and just come talk to us. We'll tell you the ins and outs, the good, the bad. I mean, we're not going to discourage you, we're not going to turn anybody away.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and we'll talk about that in a second about most of, especially there in Madison and in Ridgeland and all about all these surrounding areas of Madison County. The officers are so approachable, and they would love to share about what they do because at the end of the day, it really is about community service. And I think it's important to understand, we see the TV shows, Chicago PD, 911, cops, all of that. And we see the adrenaline, let's kick the door down, put the guns up, slap the cuffs on somebody and take them to jail. But there is so much more to police work than just the stuff we see in the movies because you guys are handling traffic, directed traffic. You're handling crowd controlled events. You're first on the scene for a lot of medical issues. And most of the time, especially in places like Madison, you're just showing up to be a calming presence and say, hey, let's just make sure we do this so we don't have to take people to jail. And it takes a great communicator. It takes somebody that can write reports very well. It takes people that can talk and relate to everybody in their community.
Correct. It is correct.
So, one thing that kids always want to ask is, well, when you have somebody in the squad car, are you mad at them? Do you feel bad? But I think what kids don't understand is that when a law enforcement officer has to take somebody to jail, that person knows this person is at their lowest point they've been. So it does take some level of empathy. Now, at the end of the day, you've got to protect your victims, you've got to protect your community, but at the end of the day, that's a human being that you have. So
Mhm.
talk about how you separate that because that to me would be very difficult.
So how you separate that? You always have that level of professionalism. You treat everybody with respect, no matter what they did, what they have done, the crime just committed. You still treat them with respect. We have had people in our patrol cars that have calmed down and told us about their family, told us about what they're going through, and just turned a bad situation into a positive situation. Us as law enforcement, we have to be not only law enforcement officers, but we have to be counselors as well. And with that being said, you have to listen to the problems they have going on, and just being that listening ear, you could you could help people in a big way just by being that listening ear, just letting them vent.
Yeah,
And
and that's why we said we need more young ladies to consider getting into this. And we have a lot, and I'm sure you've seen the changing demographics of Madison. We have more and more immigrants that are coming to Madison County. So
correct.
we need people that can speak multiple languages. We need young ladies because if there's a situation where a subject or a victim is a female and there's been a sexual assault situation, a domestic violence situation, that female victim is more than likely going to feel more comfortable speaking to a female. That doesn't mean that you guys don't do a great job, but at the end of the day, like we said, if our law enforcement agency represents the people in the community, every person in the community is going to have somebody that they think has their back.
True, that is correct.
Uh, Now, when talk about the training you get, because you hear law enforcement officers all the time talk about, well, we were trained for XYZ situation. So even though, like, Madison is not like New York, where you're having, the big drug bust with everybody popping out of the cars and, the shootouts all the time. But at the end of the day, if that ever happened, you guys are trained for that because every emergency situation, whether it be a natural disaster, weather, violence, everything, you guys are trained for it. So a lot of people say, well, I think I could serve the community in law enforcement, but I think if I got into situations, I would freeze up. But that really doesn't happen. So talk about the training you guys go through.
So the training we go through is when you come on with us, we put you through an LTO program. That's what you arrive with a certified officer that is a certified LTO that will give you a little bit of what goes on in law enforcement. You be on traffic stop with us. You'll attend calls with us, events. With that being said, we kind of get your feet wet for what you're gonna go through in the academy. However, when you go to the academy, they are gonna train you for 12 weeks as to what you are going to get you ready for the road. However, when you those 12 weeks, when you're done, you come back to us, and then that's when you put those skills to the test of what you learn. That being said, Madison uh, makes sure that officers are well trained at every aspect of law enforcement, whether it be special response, DUI, K9, no matter what it is, Madison goes the extra mile to make sure we are well trained to handle any situation that may arise. Whether it is,
Yeah, and
sir,
no, 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 go ahead and finish.
no matter how small or how big that situation is, Madison gonna make sure their guys are well trained. Their guys and their ladies are well trained to handle that situation professionally, calmly, and make sure everybody goes home, not just us, but as well as that person we're dealing with.
Absolutely. And the other cool thing about law enforcement that I always think I tell kids is if you're a person that wants to work at night, they always need people in law enforcement to work overnight.
It is correct.
'Cause I have people say, well, I'm not a morning person. Okay, that's great. Law enforcement could be a great fit for you because I've known a few law enforcement officers to say, hey, I work at night and I love it and I sleep all day.
Yeah, you have a lot of officers that love night shift. I mean, we got a couple guys that they just a diehard night shift fans.
Yeah, and because of that, you're able to have a family, you're able to attend things. But another thing about law enforcement that's cool is it does give the opportunity for a lot of part-time work, a lot of private security work. These venues love hiring certified officers just to work, 1 or 2 days a month for a little extra money in your pocket. I had a friend in the Hinds County Sheriff's Department, and she loved working the WWE events.
Mhm.
At the Coliseum, and she said I wasn't on official duty, but I was making a little extra money, and all I was doing was checking some bags here and there, and then walking with the wrestlers to the locker rooms.
That is correct. That is correct. You get to secure some really cool events. You get to meet some really nice people. I mean, law enforcement it's all about community engagement. And just like I said, people just want to feel safe. They just want to just say meet a good person, and that's pretty much just all it's about community engagement.
Yeah, and it's just so cool to see, places like Madison and Ridgeland, at our churches on Sunday, people are leaving. You have uniformed police officers directing traffic.
Mhm.
And people don't understand what a hard and stressful job that is, but that's important. And look, places like Madison, Ridgeland, Canton, always looking for good people to get into this.
That's true. We are always looking for good people. Like I said, if you think you have what it takes to wear that uniform, come see us.
Yeah, Now, before I get to their questions, I just a lot of things we've seen in the media
Mhm,
um, depict law enforcement officers negatively, and
mhm,
some of it is warranted. There have been some horrible incidents involving law enforcement, but I do not think that is the overall narrative. And majority of law enforcement officers, especially around here, are here to help. They're approachable, and you can ask them questions, and they'll tell you about what's going on and what you can do, and even simple things like you don't have to be scared when the police show up. Just because the police are there doesn't mean somebody's going to jail. And and one of my all-time favorite interactions I ever had with police was I had a flat on the side of the road on a very busy street. This is when I was living in Tennessee, and the police officer, he didn't have to get out and help me. He offered to. I was almost done, but he put his blue lights about 30 feet behind me and made sure nobody was going to hit me.
mhm.
Sometimes that's all it takes, and it doesn't have to be let's chase cars and bust in undercover and have a shootout.
That is correct. Law enforcement is way more. It's much more than taking people to jail, police chases, or just what you see on TV. It's way more than that. What the media releases to the public, nobody has no idea what leads up to that call that we're going on. Nobody has an idea of how dangerous that person is that we may encounter. Nobody has an idea of how bad that car wreck is that we're about to encounter.
Oh yeah.
Nobody has an idea of how bad that medical aid call is that we're about to encounter. What the media sees and what the general public sees is much more to it leading up to that than what you actually see.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's been a stain on all the hardworking men and women of our law enforcement community that do such a great job in Madison County because, they always joke about you don't play around in Madison County. Well, that's because we have law enforcement that's professional and they're not going to put up with people harassing citizens or damaging property or committing any type of disturbance that businesses are paying taxes to make sure it doesn't happen.
That is true because you want to come to a place that you can feel safe, that you don't have to worry about your car getting broken into. You don't have to worry about getting mugged, robbed, shot. You just want to enjoy your family, enjoy a good meal, and just be safe. Us in Madison County, we have friends in neighboring counties, like whether it be Ridgeland, Gladstad, Flowood, Rankin County, it doesn't matter. We believe in taking safety as a number one priority. And we want people, when you come to Madison, we want you to feel safe. You're going to feel safe. And we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that happens.
Yeah, and it's such a tangible reward to be able to see a community thriving and know that you had a part in that. So that's another great reason to get into this. Well, they're handing me some great questions,
Okay.
and I really like this first one. This is Jeremiah O'Leary. He's in 10th grade, and he asked, "What is one thing you wish the community knew about law enforcement officers that you feel they don't?"
One thing I wish that they knew about law enforcement officers, every officer is not bad. Just because you have one or two that has done something wrong, that doesn't mean the entire law enforcement community as a whole is bad. You have some great officers in Madison, Madison County, Rankin County. You have some great officers that believe in doing the job and doing the job well, doing the job right.
Yeah, and we all remember all of our late friend Corey Ray. And as much as we used to mess with him, you have to look at, Corey wasn't the one uh, locking people up, but he did so much for these kids when it came to being safe. He made sure that they were getting to and from venues safely. And it really takes a special person like that. And then you look, well, unfortunately, when he passed away, look at the community that got behind him. So it really is such a community thing with that connection. I love this question. This is Tanaya Willis. She's in ninth grade,
Okay.
and she asked, "How has your job changed the way you look at people?"
My job changed the way I look at people because everybody is not bad. I mean, some people just go have a rough time and down on their luck, and you can't treat everybody as a criminal. So, with that being said, my aspect on a lot of things that I didn't know before I got into law enforcement, once I got in law enforcement, it really opened my eyes and changed a lot.
Now, I love this one, and she's got two questions. This is Terkala Chambers. She's in 10th grade, one of our volleyball players. And then
Okay.
I never thought about this. She asked, How often do you have to requalify with your firearm, and what if you're not able to qualify with it?
Madison makes sure we qualify. I want to say it's quarterly. So maybe about every 3 months. I want to say I could be wrong on that time, but they make sure we go to the gun range and qualify a lot. We stay at the gun range. Like I said, it goes back to the training. Madison makes sure we are well trained in every aspect. We get training throughout the year on those firearms to make sure we're efficient.
Yeah, and I think that's what people need to realize, and and not to bring in a political thing to it, but when Colin Kaepernick was having his protest, so many law enforcement officers were like, "Look, come to the training with us and see how this is done," and he refused. And you can feel how you want about that, that's fine. But I'm
Mhm.
like, look, you have to understand, it's not just where they're just going out and shooting willy nilly. There is a lot of training involved with a lot of these off departments, and Madison does a great job of that. Now,
It is.
I love this question too. She asked, if you ever have you ever had to deal with a situation where you didn't necessarily agree with the law, but your job was still to arrest the person?
We deal with that on a pretty regular basis. It's kind of like one of those gray areas that you kind of see it from both sides, but at the end of the day, you have to do your job. A decision has to be made, and that's what we have judges for. That's what we have the court system for. So if you feel that you have been done wrong, or if you feel the system is wrong, that's you have a judge to make that determination.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that here. We'll talk about that before we get done.
Okay.
But this is, a serious question. Joshua Williamson, one of our baseball and football players here, he asked, if you ever had to pull the trigger on someone, what do you think would be your mindset, and would you be trained, and how you think it would affect you mentally?
Um, Again, goes back to we get the proper training to if we ever have to pull that trigger, then we make sure that we're in the right. However, what you see on TV, you see somebody pull the trigger and like, oh, I shot multiple people, I shot this person, and you just see them back at the office the next day. Well, that's not the case. You pull that trigger, you have emotions, you have feelings, you have a heart just like everybody else. And regardless of the fact what you when you pull that trigger, then you don't know what's gonna come behind it. You don't know the backlash that's gonna come behind it. You don't know the picture that the media is gonna paint of you. You don't know if you're gonna be labeled as a killer, murderer, or somebody that just doesn't care. So it's a lot that comes behind it.
Yeah, and I know unfortunately we had the situation in Flowood not that long ago where we had an officer involved shooting, and I know the Flowood Police Department provided mental health counseling for that person, because even though he was in the right protecting his
Mhm,
fellow officer, at the end of the day he had to take someone's life. So
mhm,
even though it was the line of duty
mhm,
and it was justified, that's like you said, it's very, very. I think it's a lot harder than people realize.
It's you still have feelings and emotions. You're still a human being at the end of the day. No matter whether we put this badge and uniform on, we have feelings, we have families, we have emotions like everybody else. We may not show it, but that's how we're trained.
Love it. I got time for two more. I love this one. This is Caitlin Beal. She's in ninth grade, one of our cheerleaders here at Velma Jackson, and she asks, "How has this job changed you as a person?"
How this job has changed me as a person. Uh, it's changed me to handle responsibilities very well. Um, I've always said that I didn't want to be in charge of anything because I didn't know how I could react to it, didn't know want to make the tough decisions. However, when I came to Madison saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and they decided to make me a supervisor. So that
Wow.
position is OIC/corporal. So they took they took the chance and took the opportunity on me, and they tasked me with something that is very important. It's a very important role at the police department. Just like there's a lot of important roles at the police department, they saw the opportunity and they felt that I could do a good job in that position, in that leadership position. Like I said, I never wanted to be in a position like that because I never want to be tasked with that much responsibility. But Madison saw something in me, and when they did it, I've been going strong at it ever since. I'm not about to half step in.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And again, just in a long legacy of great Madison police officers as well. But I got this last one. This is Avery Harris. She's in 10th grade. Wants to be a law enforcement officer. One of our volleyball players and of our archery team here at Velma Jackson. She's got a couple of questions, and she asked, "How do you manage the stress and able to de-stress once you're off the clock?"
How you manage the stress? Every situation is not stressful. The job itself as a whole is stressful because when you wake up and put that uniform on, lace those boots up, you're not and walk out that door, you're not guaranteed to come back home. You're not guaranteed to come back home to your wife, to your kids, to your parents, to your brothers, your sisters. You just don't know. You don't know when you walk out that door if something's gonna happen to you within the next minute, second, hour. You just don't know. So how you deal with that is you have people that you work with that you laugh, joke, smile with. Or when you off work, a lot of guys, a lot of officers, they tend to work out. They tend to,
Yeah.
maybe go out to eat with your wife when you're done, go out to eat with your husband. It could be something that's just, like I said, just something other than that uniform is it just take a lot of pressure, a lot of weight off you because knowing that you made it back home safely, that's just enough in itself to be distressed because you live to see another day. A lot of officers can't say that.
Yeah. Yeah, and the crazy thing is, a lot of those officer fatalities is not what you might think with the gunfire.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, my good friend Justin Brooks lost his dad with Madison PD in a motorcycle wreck.
Yes, sir.
Trying to be, he had all the safety precautions, but it was just a freak accident. So it
Mhm.
is, there always is that risk. Now, her final question is, if I'm in a car and I don't know someone has something illegal in there, would I be in trouble?
So how we handle that situation? When we're on a stop, we ask is there anything illegal in the car. Uh, we ask the driver to be honest with us. We ask the passenger to be honest with us. If that passenger has or that driver has something illegal on them, then quite naturally, whoever is in possession of it, that's who will get charged with that crime. However, if nobody takes ownership of what's in that vehicle, then both could possibly get charged with that crime.
Ooh. Ooh. So just be very mindful on who you get in the vehicle with.
Yes, be very
We always say about choose your crowd wisely, and I know
correct.
they get sick of us hearing that, but I know you've seen it yourself. People
Yes,
hanging out with the wrong person have wound up getting in some trouble. Now, most of the time, it's not big, big trouble, but at the end of the day, it's more trouble than it's worth.
it is correct.
Yeah, so just, if even for the people that don't want to be law enforcement, please hear that as you start making decisions. And we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for
Yes, sir.
joining us. But a couple things before we go, like we mentioned, if any kids are interested, they're always welcome to stop by the department over there by Rosa Scott. Just go in and talk to somebody. Find out, what you can do now. To start being, find one of these officers as a mentor. We need all types of kids, no matter, every color, every gender, because that's the way our community is. And we need all of them to really, if they want to make a difference, this could be a great area for them.
And so we have, like I said, if you see officers out on the street, you're more than welcome to stop by the station. If you see us out on the street patrolling, you have a question for us, stop us, talk to us. We will engage with you. We will answer your questions. We will show you the utmost respect that like we show everybody. And I said, we're not going to turn you away.
Yeah. Now, the last thing before we go, and I always say this, I always mention this when I have law enforcement officers, to everybody. If you don't get anything else that we talk about, I need everybody to hear this. The side of the road is not the place to have an argument.
That's true.
Even if you have been done completely wrong, the end of the day, you need to get home safely. Let your
Mhm.
parents handle that. There are people in the community that will advocate for you. The side of the road is not the place to argue and try to and try to act like you know everything and try to get over and put yourself in a dangerous situation with a police officer. Let them say what they need to say and go home. If you have a ticket that you want to fight later, get your parents to handle it. But it is not safe for them and it's not safe for you.
That is true because the distractions of somebody arguing with us, that takes our attention away from one, cars passing by on the side of the road. Two, we get distracted by we may get in an argument with you and no somebody could pull up on us and try to do us harm. The person in that car could try to distract us and do us harm. It's really not the place to handle that. We'll tell you, you have a court date at the bottom of that ticket. If you felt like, if you want, I always say, if you want to contest that ticket and or pay it, contact the number down at the bottom, and they'll tell you how to go by the correct way of handling
Yeah, and then also, if you think that somebody did something unethical, have your parents handle that. And the Madison Police Department has a very transparent, or most police departments actually have a very transparent way that you can complain. But your
it.
parents need to be the ones taking up that for you. It does not need to be you trying to act grown with a law enforcement officer. So I just
Yeah,
want everybody, at the end of the day, we want all of our kids to be safe. We want all of our officers to be safe. And we just thank you so much for the service you have for our community. And we
yes, sir.
really encourage all of our kids, when they see you guys speak, and if they're interested, this could be a great field. But we thank you so much for joining us with the Madison Police Department. Cole McGinnis, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, thank you.